Good afternoon, and welcome to the second episode of The Dev Show. My name is Sherry List, and I'm here today with my colleague Rasmus Jack as your host. For those of you that is the very first time that you're joining Dev Show and you wonder that what Dev Show is actually your very new favorite weekly show. What we do is that on each week, on Tuesday, same time, we have a speaker and then we have a deep dive into a specific topic. And all of you have opportunity to ask your question from the speaker. How? By writing in the chat. And some of you might have joined us via YouTube. Some of you might have joined us via Twitch. Doesn't matter where you are. You can type your question in the chat box, and then we receive it, and then we can answer it to you. So, Rasmus, what do we have on agenda for today?
Yeah, we have a really exciting topic today. As many of you might know, we're going to talk about monitoring and logging with Azure. So that's really exciting. And in this session, you're going to hear about what is Azure Monitor. So and also how you can effectively monitor your workloads with Azure Monitor, and you can both monitor in Azure and not in Azure, right? So and then we're also going to share some ideas on structuring and utilizing the logs that you are collecting from these monitored objects. And to get a little bit deeper, our speaker today is also gonna show you how you can use Kusto to answer the deep dive insights to application and platform logs. So you can actually look at advanced queries there. And also, of course, we need to show what is new in Azure Monitor, so everybody knows that. But before I introduce the speaker today, Sherry, do we have anything special on the agenda that we didn't have last week?
Yes. In order to add more fun to our event, so this time we are going to have Kahoot quiz as well. So it will be very short. There will be only 5 questions, and in order to answer them, you have to just listen carefully to what the speaker is discussing, and all the answers are there.
Okay, so
And
other than the excitement to be in the Kahoot and also to learn about the questions in the Kahoot, can I win something? So what?
definitely, and all of you actually not all of you. Oh yeah, actually all of you. I forgot to mention all of you. You're going to get cute Azure Hero badges by the end of the show, and we are going to discuss. If you don't know about the program, I'm going to tell you that what Azure Heroes is. But the top 3 winners of Kahoot, they are getting a special and more valuable badge as well, which is called Kudos badge. We will discuss it later during the Kahoot. But Rasmus, I'm waiting to hear about our speaker.
Yeah, that's all exciting. But let's not drag it out anymore. So our speaker today, he's the cloud solution architect within Microsoft in Denmark. I'm actually working very close to him. He's originally from India, debuted to Denmark for a short duration, but he decided to stay, of course, because of the weather. That's also why you stayed in Denmark, right, Cherry?
Yeah, definitely. I love weather. But I mean, today is exception, but
Yeah, exactly. So the speaker today has also been in the software industry for more than 11 years. He's worked as a full stack developer, automation tester, DevOps engineer on various tech stacks like .NET Core, Spring Core, Java. So he's really broad in terms of development. He's also been enabling. That's actually what he does right now, enabling enterprises in different scales in expediting their digitization journey with Azure. So let's give a virtual round of applause to Abishek, who will take us through monitoring and logging with Azure. The stage is yours, Abhishek. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thanks, Rasmus. Thanks, Sherry. Let me start off by quickly appreciating the fact that you have given me this opportunity to be here, speak to the community, and I'm glad to be here. With that out of the way, thanks, Rasmus, for the good introduction. I regard myself as one of the app DevOps SME on our cloud architect team in Denmark. A key part there is monitoring. Monitoring is a key part of your DevOps journey. Monitoring is a key part of your enterprise telemetry. So I thought let's spend some time. If you happen to be in the middle of a journey, of your digitalization journey on Azure, what are the possible options on Azure? So if you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate person or an expert, maybe you'll get something out of the session. But just to measure where the audience is, I cannot see the chat, but at least if in case you consider yourself as an expert in Azure Monitor, I would really love to have a chat. So if you are an expert in Azure Monitor, please drop a 1 in chat, and maybe Rasmus or Sherry can, the mods can share those participants with me after the session or something. So with that out of the way, let me quickly share my screen and walk you through some slides for starters, and then show you some demos. Okay, so do you guys see the Azure portal? Rasmus, maybe.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to share the presentation now. Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip the introduction. So so depending on your role in your organization and where your journey is, if you're in the middle of a digitalization journey, you certainly have a hybrid scenario where your on-premise state is interacting with the cloud, depending on your skill set, depending on your preference of which Azure services you guys want to use. You might be using a lot of virtual machines. You might be using a lot of network appliances, storage, and everything, and whatnot, right? It depends where you are. But then if you want to draw a diagram around it, you would see something like this, where you have your on-premise state on the left side and your cloud inventory on the right side. But I want you to have this image in your mind just for a bit. Nothing to think about, just have this as a reference. But on the other hand, if you're a cloud native person and if you're a container fan, if you know what Kubernetes is, if you are a big fan of highly available applications, zero downtime, this is an image which would be appealing to you. It would talk to you, where you have, again, a lot of network appliances, starting from an app gateway, an internal load balancer, a lot of namespaces inside your AKS clusters, identity, container registry, and then again, which talks to your DevOps pipelines, GitHub, DevOps pipelines, and whatnot. Again, just add this to your mindset, and just think of the complexity that you'll face when you have to monitor all of these in one go. And in addition to monitoring, you'll have to share some key insights with stakeholders who need to understand where they should invest, what they should look out for, and stuff like this. I know this is a pretty busy slide, but then again, this is the best case and the most overloaded scenario of your cloud inventory that you can have, from an IaaS perspective and from a PaaS perspective. Okay, so on to the next one. But when you think about AKS, most of the AKS workloads are hosting microservices underneath. This is a very sad attempt to depict what microservices are like internally. But given that every microservices architecture needs to follow the domain-driven design, every microservice needs to be monitored with a distributed tracing concept. You need to make sure that if an event started to initiate itself from service A, it propagated to service B. If it didn't, where did it go? You need to have a correlation between all your microservices, because these are fairly decoupled. So when you have an incident and when you're trying to make sense out of how these services sit together and where to start to troubleshoot, you need a one-stop shop on Azure to take it forward. But then again, no prizes for guessing the answer. How do you keep track of all this? And yeah, we shared the answer well in advance with you guys before. Ignore Matt Damon. I'm just a big fan. So the answer is Azure Monitor, right? It's as we like to call it, it's a one-stop shop for all your monitoring requirements, all your analysis of your cloud inventory on Azure, and also on premises, not just Azure. Including on premises, we also have integrations with other clouds. But Azure Monitor is so powerful. It lets you analyze your cloud inventory in terms of metrics, in terms of logs. It gives you out-of-the-box visualizations from charts to live telemetries. It also includes alerting mechanisms and automation controls. How would you automate stuff? You can export a bunch of logs, a bunch of telemetries just out of it with free-to-use APIs, and you can also straight away have your own ingestion pipelines by which, if you have some compliance requirements to ingest those logs in your own storage devices, you can also facilitate that. Lastly, on archiving, just to make sure that the performance is okay for your underlying cloud services, it also has support for archiving. But then again, that's a lot of talk, right? But to put things in perspective, I want you to forget everything you know about monitoring. But let's start about the basics of how monitoring or how Azure Monitor is built on top of Azure. First thing is the applications. These are your workloads, your single-page applications, your websites, whatever. That is the first box here. They are sitting on top of an operating system, which could be Linux or Windows. But these operating systems are virtualized on top of Azure resources. This could be a VM, an Azure function, a logic app for a more serverless offering, if you want to say so. But when you want to group all these Azure resources, the IaaS and PaaS services, you would have underneath an Azure subscription. But you can have multiple Azure subscriptions under a given tenant. So an organization, when they start their journey on Azure, the first thing they do is they set up a tenant. And from there on, they'll start creating management groups, and under different management groups. And when I say management groups, I mean based on your organizational structure, you will create management groups. And then inside those management groups, you'll have subscriptions. And inside those subscriptions, you'll keep deploying your Azure resources or whatever workload you want. So yeah, all these artifacts in there existing on Azure, this is included, but we also interact with the custom sources. And by custom sources, I mean third-party tools. I mean custom logs and metrics that you can send to, let's say, other clouds outside of Azure on-prem. You can use REST APIs. You can use Log Analytics App Gateway. If you have virtual machines which don't interact with the internet, if they're locked down, you certainly can leverage those. So that is also there. But why are we talking about all this? Because these artifacts or these entities, when you look at Azure Monitor, these entities they fall in two categories. One is metrics, the other one is logs. What's the difference in metrics and logs? We'll cover that later. But the information or the statistics or the telemetry inside these metrics and logs, these can be classified into these 5 categories, control planes, if I may say so. So you have insights, where you're able to, depending on the type of Azure platform you're hosting your workload on, you can leverage those there. So if you have a container-based application, you'll use the container insights. If you have a VM-based application, you'll use VM agents. In order to visualize these metrics and logs, you can leverage Power BI. You can have free-to-use workbooks. You can have free-to-use dashboards. For analysis, you can write your own queries. You can set up your own metric analytics dashboards and graphs within Azure itself, or send it to someone over an email. And in terms of response, you can create your own alerts. And based on those alerts, you can also scale up, scale down, or even scale out and scale in your Azure resources. Obviously, there are only some resources which support auto scaling based on the alerts, but we are getting there. We are working in that direction to encompass all the Azure services in a way they can be integrated to these alerts, and then you can automatically scale out based on your time of the day or based on user demands. And the last bit is, so when you have these metrics, when you have these logs getting published from so many sources on Azure, you would need to do some intelligent activities on it, right? You would need some levers to use that information, and then maybe talk to some other system. For those kind of things, we have a good integration with Logic Apps, a codeless offering on Azure. Minimal code you have to write, it's just a drag and drop experience. Or the second option is to use the export APIs that we have. So I guess that's enough on the theoretical part on what Azure Monitor is and what it comprises of. Back to my earlier concern on what actually is a metric and what is actually a log. How do you differentiate between the two? So let's spend a few minutes on that. So metrics versus logs, just based on the image representation that I have here. Metrics are quite frequent events which you represent, which are available out of the box for a given Azure resource. It could be performance, how is your SQL database performing, how is your application gateway performing in terms of ingress traffic, how heavy is the ingress traffic, or in terms of requests, how many requests did my application gateway get in the last 1 hour. So these metrics are available out of the box, free of no charge, and you don't have to build them yourself. You just have to select them from a drop down, and that's it. You're ready to go. That is for the metric side. What are the logs? The logs are verbose details, if I may say so. You can extract these logs based on Kusto query language, which kind of relates to SQL, or if we have people on the session who understand what Splunk is and have written some queries in Splunk, you can easily relate to what Kusto query is, because we're going to have a short demo on how would you build a Kusto query. But yeah, in terms of logs, they have verbose details. They have a lot of information on your Azure resource, on your workload, or on Azure itself, based on those 5 metrics that we talked about in the previous slide. They are more verbose, and they're organized in such a way that any IT professional or any dev rather, he or she could figure out a way and write a small query and see what is actually happening underneath the metrics. Because when an incident happens, right, The first place you will go to see is the metrics chart. That is what I recommend. You will be able to see if there was a spike in your Kubernetes cluster. That spike would be quite apparent in the dashboard. But this graph is not enough, right? You don't get much from this. You need to understand which workload spiked in the backend, because imagine if you have like 90 microservices, 1,000 microservices, you need to understand which microservice is giving you the most amount of workload. So for those kind of scenarios, you would want to deep dive into the logs area, right? And start writing some queries and have those queries set up beforehand. Which brings me to the demonstration part. So let me switch some windows here for a bit. Okay. So this is a demonstration workspace for log analytics that I have. For people who don't know what this workspace is about, it's on the left. These are like all your tables.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Sherry.
Yeah, so can you please zoom in, because people type in the chat that they
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. I hope that's okay. Okay. Yeah. So a quick intro to, or a crash course to what the log analytics workspace is like. This is not the actual workspace, but this is a means to write a query. But then when you select a scope over here, it'll actually start talking to all the telemetry that gets emitted from your Azure resources. But this is the first place where you'll arrive and start writing a query. On the left side is the name of all the Azure resources that we have. We call them tables. If you open one of these tables, like I'm opening Azure Sentinel, you will call it an entity. It's not a table. These are the entities on a high level, but underneath these entities you have actual tables, and under these actual tables you have properties. So whatever query you write, you leverage these entities and the corresponding properties. So for today, I have actually prepared something beforehand, which might be of interest to you guys in terms of usage and demonstrations. Let me just grab that query from there, and maybe this is interesting for you. So imagine if you have a workload which is purely based on virtual machines, Windows virtual machines to be precise. If you have that scenario and you have users doing an RDP session inside your Windows machines, this is the first, from a security point of view, this is the first event or the first entity you should be looking at. A security event emits telemetry whenever someone signs in to a Windows machine. This gets tracked by Azure Sentinel. It also gets tracked by Azure Security Center, the two heavyweights in security on Azure. But if we talk about the properties on this, event ID 4624 is the one you need to be concerned about, because it captures all the sign-in events. And project, we are projecting these 4 or 5 attributes on a very high level. Just right off the bat, you must have seen to get a continuation of your query, you really need to use or follow a syntax here, and the pipe symbol is the syntax to concatenate different parts of your statements. And the project clause or keyword is just a way to output the attributes that you want to see here in the result set. So if I run this, what would it show me? Okay, this is inconvenient. Okay, so right now it shows us host name of the computer, the account it belongs to, logon ID, which doesn't make sense to me, and timestamp. Bear in mind, timestamp has been renamed to an attribute name which makes more sense to me, and this is okay, right? I can see which computers have been logged into and at what time. So this is a pretty basic scenario. But what would be really cool though would be to include the events that happen when someone logs out of the Windows machine. So that is event ID 4634 that gets triggered whenever someone logs out of the Windows machine. But how would you do that, right? Both these events happen in the same table, in the same entity. How would you do that? So the basic answer is you have the ability to join tables in Kusto query, and this is going to be a self join. So we are just going to join another result set just underneath. I'm going to pull up the query for that here. Like this. And 1 second. No. Just going to replace that. Okay. So the join that I'm talking about here is the inner join, this one over here. What it's doing is it's joining to itself, and that too joining on the target logon ID, because that is like a common attribute. If you've played with SQL and Splunk, you would know what a inner join is. And in the bottom, you will see a clause called extend. So extend is a clause that KQL uses for expressions. And in this case, what we're doing is we are subtracting the log on time. So whenever the user logged in from the log off time, whenever the user logged off. So we have a duration with us to understand the duration for which a user logged on to a machine. Project away is something, and it's there in the name itself, project away. It means it's trying to hide a column called target logon ID 1. And in this case, we're using it because we're doing a self join with security event, and we don't want to confuse another user if they are using the data set by having 2 duplicate columns in the result set. So we're just trying to hide that with the project away statement. And in the bottom, you can see that we are only considering top 10 records, and we have sorted by the duration. So whatever duration we get, we have sorted by descending. So the latest one comes right on top. But just while we're on this, I'm not going to run it right now. Just on the kind of joins we have. So we have other kind of joins that we can also leverage. So like left outer join, which is the same as we have in SQL, where all the records in the left table, if they are matching with the right table, they get returned in the results. But the unmatched rows, they'll just have a null in front of it. That is a left outer. We also have a left anti-join and a left semi-join. In left anti, what happens is whichever records that don't match with the table on the left, with the table on the right, they don't get included in the results. And the result table, it only has the columns from the left table. The columns from the right table, they are not returned. But there are more details on the kind of joins we can use here, and you can surely look it up if you're writing some complex queries and then trying to extract information rather than data from your log analytics workspace. But if we just execute this quickly, I think I'm short on time. So now you see the name of the computer, the account that is used, log on time, log off time as well, because we projected that in our end result. And we see the duration for which these machines were logged into. So yeah, this is pretty cool, at least for people in security and monitoring. They can surely go crazy with this piece of insight and the joins that we have. Going back to the presentation, I'm gonna put it back up again. Okay. So that was the scenario when you have to monitor IaaS machines, virtual machines. But then what would you do if, in case you want to monitor applications? So just like here on the right side, Application Insights is the name of the product, which is part of the Azure Monitor family, and it's natively built inside Azure Monitor. You would use this to monitor your application workloads. In Application Insights itself, you have two approaches to integrate your workloads with Application Insights to publish telemetry. One approach is the code-based approach, and the other approach is the codeless approach. And just by the name, code-based approach is where you need to utilize your Application Insight SDKs and integrate them with your with whatever platform you're on, like ASP.NET, .NET Core, console applications, Java, Node.js, and Python. And console applications is a really key platform for us here, because I see customers using this for their on-prem estate to interact with the Application Insights on the cloud. And in the code-based approach itself, you also have the possible option to send custom metrics. And when I say custom metrics, I mean just an Excel which has like 4 random columns. You just want to ingest that data in Application Insights for some reason, because that data came from your legacy system. That is also possible here through custom metrics and the API, which is exposed by Application Insights. On the second hand, codeless approach, which saves more time for your feature teams, helps you in your 2-week sprints. Codeless approach, it doesn't require you to make any code changes. It doesn't require you to instantiate or declare Application Insights related objects, or even make code changes and then again have a testing cycle. You just have to make some minor configurations in your Azure resource, and you also have to deploy an agent. And in most of the cases, it's at least for the applications, it's only Application Insights agent. But just on this, at least the product group who are responsible for Azure Monitor, they have been getting a good feedback from the community and from the users. And this table here in the bottom, you can see that these 4 platforms and where they are with their codeless offering. When you want to integrate your applications with either of these platforms, where they are. It's taken from the Microsoft documentation website. You can look it up after the session. The ones which are GA are generally available, ready to use, production ready. And this abbreviation is acronym is onboarded. That means for these services which have these stars next to them, they are onboarded by default. You don't have to do anything to enable telemetry for a codeless approach. Codeless attaches for the other things which are in private preview and in public preview. I've tested out myself some offerings on the Java area, and they are really good ideas in terms of saving time. I would highly recommend going to and exploring the private preview options and the public preview options for the Java side. It actually helps a lot. And with that, I want to quickly demonstrate Application Insights to show you how we can publish failures from a Node.js application. And then for a Java-based application, I would like to show you how availability tests can be used and how would you trigger alerts based on them, and what value does it have. So quickly, I'm going to skip to the Azure portal here. And I'm going to show you the application insight resource. This is the application insight resource. It has already been provisioned before the meeting. I don't have enough time, so what I've done is on the Node.js side, this is the Express framework Hello World app that I have, and right now it's not doing anything. It's just saying hello and welcome to Express framework on Node.js. And if I quickly start the app, so as I mentioned, the app is already instrumented with application insights. So in line number 13 here, you will see AI.setup. It's actually using a unique ID. This is the instrumentation key for application insights that we need to embed inside our code so that the client-side telemetry can be propagated to application insight. And that is already mentioned here. And I'm just waiting for the app to come up. As soon as this runs, it's going to say listening on. Yeah, okay. So go to this, open the demonstration app, and you should see a text. And maybe I'll also open the developer tools for you, because that is where we love to be and where we want to play. And the reason for opening the dev tools for this page is to show you how Node.js behaves for the Express framework. And just on this, yeah, let me put it like that. So right now you don't see any telemetry here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do force a browser refresh. And you're going to see that there is a 404 exception here in the browser on the client side. And it's expecting an icon file, which it cannot find for some reason. Imagine you deployed this, or even you're just building the app, right? But you've instrumented your application with the application insights, and you want to see a way to capture exceptions. So this is done. You've deployed you've instrumented the application insight, and you've run the application. Next step is that you'll go to the app insights, click on the failures blade here under investigate. So I want to investigate what's wrong with the app, right? I want to be sure if everything is captured here. So in the failures blade, you will see the exception 404 pop up for a given window of time. You'll see some metrics over here on the right side that, okay, this exception has occurred so many times in the past, whatever X number of hours. So you can even play with this. But that is not, that is not the idea here. What I'm going to do is quickly fix this error. So I'm going to include the icon that is expected here. And for people who work on Node.js, this is how Node.js and the browsers behave. They expect a default favorite icon to be there. Otherwise, this error will always show up whenever you force a refresh. I'm gonna stop the server again, restart it. So as soon as we restart, I expect the failures to not show up again. And everything should be good to go after that. So if we go back to the website, push browser cache refresh here so that we replicate the same behavior. Yeah. Okay, so now we can see there's a 200 OK for the icon. The browser has found the icon file, everything is good. But what does it mean for the failures blade here? Now you will stop actually seeing those failures here. That is step one. But what you can also see here is which calls. So on a call stack basis, which calls were responsible for these errors to appear. You can also see the stack trace here. So it was a get call on the .ico file. Took this much time, and this is the response code that it returned. So it was that easy and that quick. I'm gonna quickly skip to the next slide because I know we're short on time. Okay. Okay, so the next one was about the availability tests and alerts. I can cover this as well. So I have a Spring Boot MVC app in place. This is the app, and yeah, if we open this here, yeah, this is DevShow, free advertising for DevShow, and yeah, it calls some to-do REST APIs in the backend. What happens if we want to set up a health check for this website? I don't want to write code, but what I can do is I can just instrument the app with an application insight instance. But I still want to have a health check, but I don't want to write the code for that. How would you do that? So because you have instrumented this Spring Boot app with application insights, under the investigate blade, you have an option called availability. Inside availability, you'll get a chance to see the overall availability of everything, or all the resources that are configured with this application insight resource. But you can also create your own test. So just like I did this one, what's good about these tests is that you can pick and choose which region on Azure do you want to do the health check from. So in my case, I picked up these different locations: Central US, West US, South Central US, and application insights will do just a ping test for this Spring Boot app and let me know if my app is available or not. And the good part about this is just an availability test, but in the background you can also see the information, just like we saw for the Node.js app, of what the requests are about. I know, even though it's a ping test, but then when you're setting up these availability tests, you can also ensure that the ping call covers all the images for your web page, let's say, all the icon files for your images. You can also set that up just from the UI, and you don't have to write a single line of code to set that up. In terms of setting up alerts, so let me just hide this quickly. If you click on these three dots, you can see what kind of alerts you want to trigger. It will redirect you to the alerts page, where you'll directly have the availability test embedded. The only thing you need to do is have an action group in place. So when I say action group, I mean a way to notify the stakeholders, an SMS or an email, or trigger something outside of Azure or something inside Azure using a webhook, or trigger an event to your ITSM product. And I've already set that up. So if my application goes down, I'm sending an email to people who are on this particular role. And also you get to decide what the severity is. Since the application is down, it's a severity 0 in my case. So yeah, in 5 minutes, I set up a health alert and availability test, and I also set up the capability to send an email to different stakeholders. And I didn't have to write code, and I didn't have to test it. So that's a win-win for me, at least. Jumping back to the presentation, and maybe what I'll do is quickly skip some of the parts, unfortunately. Yeah, at least this part I'll cover. So how would you effectively monitor and consume your logs, the metrics that you see and that we talked about just now? The first thing is that you identify if your organization has any legal requirements. Do you need to encrypt your logs using your own keys? Do you need to isolate your logs and maybe store them somewhere else before sending it to Azure? So that is bring your own storage devices. And also identify the kind of Azure inventory you have, what sort of integration options you want to look at. Are you planning on monitoring an entire tenant? Are you planning on monitoring an identity solution? Or is it just a virtual machine? If it's a virtual machine, are those virtual machines talking to the internet? If they're not, maybe use log analytics gateway. Then you need to identify what kind of stakeholders you're talking about. Are they internal to the organization? Are they external? Are they audit companies? Because you would need to publish some of these telemetries and some of these logs to those external organizations. And then you would need to prepare an ingestion pipeline so that they get these logs in a safe manner. And yet again, the last part on the kind of organizational structure you have, it's best to keep these log analytics workspace as few as possible, because when you want to understand and troubleshoot what happened, so first, was it on Azure or was it on my application? If you want to understand that on Azure, and given those 4 blades over there, the initial side where we talked about, you need to look at a lot of things here. So keep these workspaces to a really small number. But again, it depends how centralized or decentralized your IT is, your organization is, and your audit requirements are. But don't create a new log space for one team. It has to be organized and collaborated in some way. I'm going to skip through the third-party integrations. You can see that yourself on the Microsoft documentation side, but this part is pretty sweet. What's new in Azure Monitor? So the first one on the network side, this feature was in preview for quite some time, even during last year, is the ability to monitor all your network appliances and get an insight on how your on-prem to cloud connections are behaving, how your VNets are behaving. If you have an application gateway in place, where does it start from, and which service is being talked to through the application gateway. If you have load balancers in place, you can also analyze them. You have a whole bunch of dashboards and tiles in front of you. And the good part about this is you don't have to configure these. These are available out of the box. So this is in preview. You have to wait for this. Java standalone agents. Again, these are actually talking about, I talked about this briefly, but then this specific one on the Java standalone agents is talking about enabling the codeless approach for Java workloads on virtual machines, on AKS, on-prem, on Windows, or even on Linux. So codeless approach, remember that. This is a good thing to look out for. And the same thing goes for the Node.js one. On the roadmap side, for the remaining part of the year, there are many other things which I have left out here, but then these are the ones which are my favorite. So just to highlight here, I'll quickly talk about the integration one because this is pretty unique. So in a chat ops scenario, right, you have a DevOps pipeline in place. You want to take some decisions based on your metrics and your logs, which are there in Log Analytics workspace. So maybe you want to stop your pipeline and stop your deployment because something else is happening on Azure. So what the team is doing is they're trying to bring together Azure DevOps and Log Analytics Workspace, and at the same time, they'll leverage the power of Teams and Slack. So that is a good feature to look out for. The second last one, this is also my favorite. If you're used to synthetic availability testing, moving forward, Azure Monitor will enable such kind of synthetic availability tests just by a click of a few buttons. And the last one on isolation, you can encrypt all your log data just by using your own managed keys, customer managed keys. That is a really good feature in terms of compliance and audit if you have those requirements. But yeah, all in all, on a very high level, they also plan to improve the latency of ingesting logs from external resources, from internal resources. That was high up on the agenda for this fiscal year. This is the last slide, and I really like this one. MSIT, Microsoft's internal IT department, who have actually used Azure and embraced Azure what it is today. Previously, they had their workloads, their data centers being monitored by SCOM. SCOM is a software to monitor data centers and virtual machines and racks and everything, right? They let that go. They let go of SCOM and they embraced Azure Monitor. Note down this link. This is a good read. I hope you can get some ideas on this if you have an organization running on SCOM today. Because this is a good read, at least in my opinion. With that, that's the last slide from my side. Moderators, Sherry, Rasmus.
So great presentation, Abhishek. I know it's a really big topic to cover in such a short time frame, but really good demos and stuff. So we have a couple of questions from the audience. So I'm just gonna put up some of them, and the ones that we not answer here we can answer in the chat afterwards or in the follow up email. So we got a question from Ivan. Does Azure Monitoring permit us to create metrics out of the logs?
Exactly. Yeah. So you write any Kusto query, and there is a way to render a chart, pie chart or a donut chart or a line graph or whatever, to make it look like a metric. But then again, it's not a metric. You've just made a chart out of a query. Metrics again are available out of the box. So let's say, how is your virtual machine on RAM? How is your storage on utilization or usage? Those are metrics. But with Kusto query, you can write something of your own, just like we did on the login and the logout duration. But you can represent it as a dashboard somewhere in your command and control center in the security area or somewhere.
Okay, great. And we'll just just a follow up on here the last question from Ivan. So can you stream the logs queries real time? So
yes, streaming the logs real time is there. Depending on your use case, you would need an agent to be deployed. But again, I would recommend that you look up that list, that slide, which I skipped quickly, and have a look at the third-party partners whom we support for custom metrics. Look at that option. That should help.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Abhishek. I will now hand it over to you, Sherry. I know we're short on time, but we promised the Kahoot, so we might need to go through it. So go ahead.
Maybe one thing is that because we have very short time, so the audience can also say that if they want to join the Kahoot or not. Should we do such a thing? So if you want to join Kahoot, press 1. If you don't want to join Kahoot, press 0. So we can kind of skip it.
So we're doing a binary vote in the chat.
Yes, binary code. And if you don't answer, then we will go for Kahoot. So you have
so 2 ways to say yes, and we don't get anything here. So it seems like people want to take the Kahoot. So let's go ahead and do it.
Okay. I will do that. So let me share the screen here. So let's go on my screen. Okay. So here you go. So in order to join the Kahoot, what you need to do is that you need to go to kahoot.it, and then you need to use this code in order to join. And it will ask you to have a nickname and a little bit of reminder that you can use emoji in your nickname as well. And let me actually add the fantastic music as well, Kahoot music. We had an emoji. A cool person just joined.
It's good for today, right? With the sunglasses.
Yes, and by the way, Abishek, since you're the one that had the question, you're not allowed to join.
Noted.
Don't cheat. Okay, have 5 so far. So we need one more person, then we can start. It's a good chance to win. Oh, one person left. So
So we need to be 6. let me join as well. But guys, I'm just gonna win this, so you will be sorry.
I will start. Okay, now we have even 7. We have Rasmus there as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just start. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Ready. Okay. A Java app can be deployed on an Azure app service using a Maven plugin. True or false? What do you think, Rasmus? Is it a fact or is it fake?
Do I need to say the right thing or the wrong thing?
It's up to you.
So yeah. I think it's did we get every answer in?
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's true.
Yes. Red is my favorite color. So Abhishek, do you have anything to add here?
So it's a free plugin built on top of Maven, and as the audience is saying it, you can surely deploy Java-based workloads on app service using the Maven plugin. It's just available in the POM file and easy to use. Cool, good to know. Good to see people are aware.
Yes, that's good. So let's go to the next question. Where first we see that who is in top. Okay, Ivan. Okay, and Rasmus, you were not supposed to win, so
I will be slow this time.
okay.
I promise. I promise.
Yeah, but by the way, as faster you answer, you get the higher kind of that number. Okay, let's go to the next one. 1, 2, 3. Configuring alerts that are integrated to an ITSM tool is not a feature in Azure Monitor. True or false? And you should think out of the box.
Right out of the box. How many answers do we have in? People are quick. I answered, so we have 2 more than me. I promise to be slow. All answers are in now. What, Abishek? Is it true or false?
Okay.
False.
False. Let's see. How many did that right?
Okay. So Abishek was right. So it was false. Why Abishek?
It's available out of the box with more than 30 ways of configuring any ITSM tool. And again, I'll recommend people to look at the partners who have a native integration with Log Analytics and Azure Monitor. So it was a trick question.
Okay, so the out of the box was the kind of the right answer. Okay, so let's see the board and see that if Osmus is winning or not. I'm not going to give you the badger, Osmus. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Osmus, you don't see there.
Sorry, I'll make sure to jump below everybody this time.
Okay, but then Champ and Quinn come dude. Okay, that was difficult. The dude. So they are joining. So 1, 2, 3. Let's go to the next one. From the options below, which action types are supported out of the box again when configuring actions for an alert? So is it automation runbook, or is it notification hub, event grid, or container instances?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm waiting. I can see we have 0 answers right now, so I'm waiting. It's a good question, and it is possible, as it says. I don't know what is possible, but 2 more answers, then I'm answering as well.
Or it might
the
be
Ivan,
possible.
have you already answered? And the sunglasses emoji. Come on, we need to do it before time, or you're just dragging me out of the game here. So I knew it.
Okay, so 4 people answered right. Abhishek, do you have any comment here?
Yeah, so this is a very peculiar question, because the other offerings or the other options on the board is just Azure services. But when you talk about action types specifically, action types are automation runbooks, your webhooks, secure webhooks, ITSM connectors, but action types are not Azure services. I intentionally put in the Azure services there just to confuse you guys.
Okay,
but 4 people really know their stuff, so I'm happy.
yeah. And the answer apparently is mostly red, and it happens to be my favorite color. So maybe for the next questions, you can have it in mind. So let's go to the board to see if Rasmus is still there or not.
I'm in the bottom now. Yes.
Haha. Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
moved down. The
champion.
champ took
The
over.
champ is winning. Okay. But Rasmus is still you can't be number 3. So you should do something about it. So
I'm jumping further down, I promise.
yes. So and the champ is on fire. That's cool. So ready for the next one? Not you, Rasmus. The rest. Are you ready?
No.
I hear yes. Okay, let's go next. 1, 2, 3. Azure Monitor has a feature which allows codeless monitoring of an on-prem Java application and publish metrics on, I assume that's application. It couldn't fit it all there. Applica.
Yeah, application insights.
Thank you, Abishek. And Rasmus, do you like my picture?
Yeah, I like it. It's a very dangerous goldfish.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it while I'm waiting to give my answer. Just need to think a bit about it. Okay, now I can do it.
Yes. So it's again the red color, which is my favorite color. So maybe I was biased when I made the Kahoot.
Maybe.
Abhishek, do you have any comments
Yeah,
there?
this was this was I gave the answer in the presentation. So with on-prem workloads, it's fairly easy to just have the agent send the telemetry to application websites, and it's been on the roadmap and it's in preview. Yeah, try it out. It's really good.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. And then let's look at the scoreboard. Okay, so there is a what?
What?
Yeah, Rasmus.
Sorry, take me out of the leaderboard. Take me away.
We can't. So we will take a badge from you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm gonna answer wrong on this last one then.
Okay, so Ivan is on fire, and Champ, what happened to you? So let's get ready because this is the very last question. So everybody be ready and be quick, not you, Rasmus. So 1,
Try not.
2, 3. Logs from Azure resources and subscription can be routed to non-Azure destinations, but not for the logs generated. True or false?
Sorry, the complete question is not for the logs generated by an Azure tenant. So that's actually missing in the software there. So the question is logs from Azure resources and subscriptions can be routed to non-Azure destinations, but not for the logs generated by the Azure tenant. True or false?
Thank you,
So should we
Abhishek.
be color biased this time again, Sherry, or what do you think we should go with? Red or blue? Red or blue?
Focus on the picture.
One answer, one more answer.
Abhishek, seems like we have technical difficulties actually for the long questions.
Yeah, feedback taken.
Okay. So it was correct. So everybody answered it wrong. Actually, answered it wrong. So Abhishek, can you elaborate?
He was going for the red one, right?
Yeah, even guys,
I
I'm
did
surprised. Even I'm surprised
Even
with this. Yeah, even I'm surprised because you can actually route your subscription and tenant level information to destinations outside of Azure, which is pretty strong in my opinion. So yeah, it's a trick question again.
Let's see the leaderboard.
Okay.
I hope I'm out of it, but my phone says I'm in. But we'll just
Ivan
take
is
the gameplay.
Ivan is saying that we should have a question number 6 to say that what is Sherry's favorite color. So that's a good suggestion. Are we ready for the leaderboard?
Drum roll.
Go for it.
We need drum rolls here. So Abhishek and Rasmus, drum rolls.
Yeah. Come on. Go the leaderboard.
2, 3. Okay. So why it didn't work? We have
I think
a lot of
it's
technical.
gonna be Ivan, I guess.
Okay. Oh no, it was not Ivan.
Okay.
He's
No,
number
this is
3.
number 3.
Rasmus
Okay.
number 2.
What?
And number 1 is Ivan. Okay, that's good. So congratulations to Ivan, Rasmus, and Kevcom dude.
So how do I get my badge, Sherry?
That's
Together with Ivan and Kevin. Kevcom dude.
Okay, the thing is that you can send an email to either Rasmus and I, which I put it here. Rasmus, you can send an email to yourself in order to claim your badge. So, and then we will send it to you right away. So share it at least at Microsoft.com or I don't know how to pronounce your initials. Rajak?
No.
At Microsoft.
Yeah, Rajak. It's very mysterious. Yeah.
Yes. Then we will send you the everything. Very quick. I'm just going to quickly put the things here because we are 15 minutes.
Yeah, so very shortly here, we really need your feedback because we want to improve this show. This is the second round with great company from Abhishek and great presentation. But please share your feedback also in terms of what topics do you want to have on the show for the next episodes, and also if you want to be the speaker of one of the episodes here, if you have something to share, please also write it in the feedback form. So please give us the feedback that you have. The link will also be shared in the follow-up email.
Yes, and then I promise that all of you will get the Summer Learner badge. So you can scan this QR code or we will put it in the follow-up email as well in order to get your Summer Learner badge as well. And if you're not familiar with Azure Heroes program, it's a community program from Microsoft for all of you in order to appreciate your time and effort in order to learn and use our technology, or when you do an extra mile and do community run community events, talk at the events. So we have different type of badges that you can claim. So if you go to aka.ms/azure.heroes, you can see all the different type of badges we have, and then how you can claim it, and you can nominate yourself or a community friend to get them. And upcoming events.
Yeah, we have some upcoming events, of course. We have the 12th of August, NG Copenhagen have a session with Minko and Kenneth. Sherry, do you know what the topic is?
Yes, it's about the state of Angular. Minko is an Angular core team member, and
Oh.
Kenneth is going to talk about the web USB standards.
Okay, exciting. And then the 18th of August, the next show here, we have the secure development lifecycle with Irina and Magnus. So that's also going to be exciting. And then there is the same date, Cloud Secrets. They have Explorer Azure with Resource Graph with Alexander. So that's if you go for the Cloud Secrets community. And also Infrastructure as Code, the 25th, here on Dev Show as well. And for the Cloud Secrets, you can learn about cloud migration stories with Rick. So a lot of really awesome sessions coming up in the future. Looking very much forward to them.
Yes, or you can go to the Azure user group and see the more events that they have, and also you can go to our meetup page as well, because we have events lined up till September. So there are a lot of things that you can check out there. And if you want to contact us, the best way is on Twitter, and these are our Twitter handles here, and also for devs has also its Twitter handle, and then msdev_dk. So for all these Twitter handles in general, you can see all the news and articles and everything that is going to be shared on Twitter. So, should we say see you next Tuesday next time? Same
Yeah,
next time.
definitely. Look forward to it. So Tuesday next week, same time.
Yes.
Thanks for
Thank
all
you
for
very
tuning in.
much.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Thanks Abhishek for the presentation.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.